So some of you do know me, so you know a little bit about my story, but a little bit of a tough luck. You're gonna have to hear it again because there are other people who need to understand, like, why are we creating this? What is this all for? And because there's for me there's a mission behind this. So for me, this whole path started quite a few years ago in my early 20s. And the moment that's more vivid in my mind is a moment when I was coming out of the subway station in Toronto region in Canada. And if you know, Toronto is a very big city, a lot like New York. And as I was coming out of the subway station, I felt sick. I felt weak in my body. And I went to the corner of that subway station. I could see people were walking by. And usually when you're in big cities, people can literally walk over you and they wouldn't even notice anything. So I'm in the corner on the side. I was feeling like crap. I was feeling like my body was breaking down. And in that moment, I threw up. I looked down, there was blood on the floor. I wasn't actually surprised by that because I knew I had been abusing my body for a long time through all sorts of addictions like alcohol, drugs, all sorts of stuff, and 10 other addictions that followed that. Basically, I was on a slow suicide mode. And I even had the thoughts of suicide at that time. And within that moment, an interesting thing happened. That was one of the first moments where I vividly felt the pain that I was going, not just physical, but emotional, spiritual, all of it. And in that moment, what I connected with was something very odd. One, I felt all the pain, but the next moment, which was very contradictory, I felt relief. I felt peace. I felt joy that I hadn't felt for years. And to my 20-year-old mind, it didn't make any sense. But in retrospect, you can call it a lot of things, but maybe it was God's grace. Maybe it was a moment of realization, whatever it was. It changed something. It changed right after that moment. Within the next week, all sorts of new thoughts started coming up and all sorts of things changed for me. And what changed really in my life was I stopped everything. I stopped going out. I re-enrolled into college at that time, and I forced myself to get a job on the weekend where I was working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. So there was no way I could get out of that. So, and that was the only way I could do this. But even the fact that I did that, it was a miracle for me because it's just that there was something inside of me that, hey, you need to go in this direction. But what that gave me was it gave me the space to step back from my life. And because I had gone through so much at that point, I didn't know what to do other than put a pause on it. And just to give you guys some context, I was born in Afghanistan, and some of you might have heard it in the news. There's been war there for 40 plus years at this point. Constant regime changes, but I mean, on the outside it looks like a news, but for my family it was a real thing. My family had to literally flee out of there because there were bombs flying everywhere. That was the reason, and they had to go to the neighboring third world country where the conditions weren't much better. But we lived there for quite a number of decade plus, and when you go through an environment like that, you tend to deal with a lot of there's a much heightened level of fear and when you're in survival mode. A lot of people feel in fear and survival mode on this side of the world, but there's physical survival on that side of the world. So you could tangibly feel it around you, with our parents, with the people around us, and the thought process. For example, my parents, their day-to-day concern was that, and it wasn't the kind of concern parents have here that their kids there's a 1% chance that their kids are going to get kidnapped or something. There was a good 70-80% chance that my sisters were going to get abducted. Or we were going to get abducted, or somebody was just going to take us away. There was a really good chance because we were illegal immigrants. My dad was going to get arrested, and we were all going to be deported back to a country where we couldn't go back to. So when you're in those situations, you grow up with a very interesting set of thoughts and beliefs and emotions. And I wasn't the only one. There are millions of people that went through that. For some reason, I had a different reaction to it, a little bit of a different reaction. When I was in my late teens, my family were sponsored to come over to Canada, Toronto region. And as soon as I came in, I was excited, but pretty soon, just within a month or so, I felt it all. First of all, this world was so different from the world that I'd come from. I couldn't make sense of it. Two, as I went towards this world, I didn't know who I was anymore. I couldn't understand my own values, my beliefs. On top of that, I had so many situations that I had gone through. I didn't know how to make sense of them as a teenager, and a lot of teenagers do. But then because the pain was so high, I didn't know what to do with it. And the only thing I could do was run away. And my running away showed up in the form of alcohol addiction, drug addiction, depression for a number of years leading up to that moment in front of that subway station. And from that point on, I spent the next 15 plus years putting aside everything in the beginning, aside everything that I thought I knew. And I started studying anything from psychology to philosophy, spirituality, history, sciences related to human behavior and natural systems. And the more I studied, the more I realized that I needed to learn a lot of things. And I needed to apply different things in my life that served me and my family. And over the years, I grew quite a bit. But then I think it was about 11 years ago when I met my mentor and coach, and I went through a process for about 6 months. And by the end of those 6 months, up until then, I was a changed person from all the growth that I'd gone through. But at the end of the 6 months, I had seen more of a change in me than I saw in 15 plus years. And that blew my mind, because it's as if somebody completely rewired who I was and connect me to a part of me that I didn't know existed. And that part of me was my potential. And had I not gone through that, I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you. I wouldn't be on stages. I wouldn't be connecting with people. I wouldn't be supporting and serving people. I wouldn't have the family that I have. I wouldn't be able to let go of a lot of the pain that I went through. I wouldn't be able to connect it to my faith, who I am deep down. None of it would have happened. And when I went through that, one of my first thoughts was, why wasn't that available to me? And all my years of education, all the people around me, why wasn't that a normal part of process that people go through? And as many real estate investors and entrepreneurs know, I mean, you might have read this with a lot of people have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He points to the financial problems in our education system, but that's the tip of the iceberg. It's not just our education system. It's in our families, in our cultures, where there are things that have been lost in the process of modernization and industrial age and the societies that we built up. A lot of it is positive, but there are things that have been lost that we're not teaching anymore, that we're not working through, and we're losing people on the way. And it wasn't just me. When I looked around myself, the past 40 years, I've seen people around me committing suicide, people going through depression, people losing families, people losing their lives, only because they were not taught how to understand themselves and what mattered to them. They were just taught to live a certain way. But really, my mission became after that is how can I go deeper here, and how can I connect others with what matters to them and what they want to create connected to their soul, their core, and what is deep down in their heart, whatever you want to call it. But my mission became is to support individuals, leaders, support families, organizations, to help them create something that's more harmonious, that's more that's a system that's there to support each other, their kids, their families, and other people around me,